Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast with Ole Miss legend and former basketball player Tim Thomas, and we are going to talk about the Ole Miss Rebels beating the Mississippi State Bulldogs in front of an absolutely electric atmosphere, 86-82 last night. Tim, that was a seminal moment, I think, in the build of Ole Miss basketball. We're going to look back at that moment as like there was a corner turn there.
Yeah, you're right. I think they said 10,600. That's I've never heard of in the Pavilion since I've been around. I think it's been built in 2016, but Beard's got everybody fired up, even the old football guys like you even fired up. So it's a good thing for Oxford and the whole Ole Miss community.
You know, let's talk about the game to start off with. And I thought it was really good to see TJ Caldwell do what he did. And I was also impressed to see Ole Miss being able to win a game where Musa Cisse and Alan Flanagan and all of that got into foul trouble early, to where players like Rashad Marshall had to step up, and Ole Miss being able to win that game. I think that's just as important as all of the other stuff.
Yeah, you're right. We got, really four, and count TJ now if he keeps coming on. And then Marshall does well, and Brandon Murray at times, I think he'll come through. But we got four guys other than that with Juju, Morrell, and Flanagan, and Brakefield. He didn't have a great score now, but he done some things well. I got to give Brakefield's credit. But I was very impressed. We had a chance early in the first half to kind of lose it. And we fought through it. TJ Caldwell got several threes there in a row that kept us within it. And then Juju kind of took over the second half with his threes. But Morrell got his points, and overall Juju 21 points, 11 assists. That's never heard of. I heard someone mention it the other day or yesterday or last night, I guess, was that that's the first time in 25 years that an Ole Miss player has got 20 points and over 10 assists.
Yeah, and some crazy stuff. I think that Jalen Murray, Juju, is probably the best player on Ole Miss's basketball team. I think the most talented player is probably Matthew Morrell, but I think the best player right now is Juju Murray. And I do want to say this. Watching Juju Murray versus Josh Hubbard in this game, absolutely amazing. And Josh Hubbard is going to be a great basketball player, and I had serious Chris Jackson flashbacks in the first half watching him play.
He's really good. As you well know, we had him in our fold there with Kermit. Then when Kermit left, he went to state, so it's kind of a bad deal there. I knew he was good. I'd watched some of the highlights of some of the games, and boy, he showed out the first half. I'm glad we put the clamps on him the second half, so that was good to see that we were able to do that. But they have good players. They got several portal players I wasn't even aware of. The Davis kid, the Matthews kid, they got Tulu. They get really good, so it'll be hard to beat them down in Starford a week or so.
Yeah, that was two really good basketball teams playing each other in a high level environment, and the atmosphere, Tim, was just absolutely off the charts. I have never seen the Pavilion look like that. I only remember a couple of times that I've seen like the Tad Pad look like that, and one of those would have been like the 97 game with Kentucky that Dick Vitale called. That I remember that game. That was a charged atmosphere, but that game and the way it looked was why Ole Miss built the Pavilion, I think.
Yeah, it was electric. I was so glad to see it. Kind of gives me chill bumps to look back. I've been to 3 games so far, but not one like that. That was good to see. And I just think about Auburn coming up. It's going to be even more. I think this Saturday against Auburn, probably even more people coming if the fire marshal will let enough people in. But it's a good win. I'm so proud. 18-3. Wow. 5-3 in the SEC. Who would have thunk it? Now we got Auburn coming in, and I don't. They're very talented, but we got a chance to beat them at home.
Yeah, like winning at Auburn's almost an impossibility. It doesn't matter. Auburn's undefeated at home. Winning in Oxford's kind of becoming the same thing. And Ole Miss is 7-0 in games decided by 5 or less points. And at a certain point, it's not luck anymore. You're not winning coin flips at the end of the game. You're doing what is necessary to win those ball games. And Ole Miss does not freak out. Ole Miss makes their shots. They're super calm at the free throw line. And I think this is a situation, Tim, where Ole Miss is basically taking over the identity of the coach, because if you look over, Chris Beard's just like watching. He's just as happy-go-lucky as you will. Now, I'm sure he's super serious and he's playing four-dimensional chess out there, but it's a situation where he never gets tight. He doesn't show momentum. You're going to get the same performance from him at all times, and I think the players are feeding off that.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. He's calm, cool, and collected over there. He kind of like a Saban or a Kiffin. He's several plays ahead in his thinking. He's already thinking about the next play or the next down play down court, or what to set up for defense, or how to do out of bounds play. He's thinking ahead. That's what's so good about this guy. And we knew it a few months ago when we started talking about him. We talked about it because that's what he's proven himself. When you're proving yourself, and he has done that in all the places he's done, you can see that he's very happy to be in Oxford, and the players have bought into it, the culture, and I can't wait for I really feel if we can go 9-9, I think we'll be okay in the tournament. But I really wish we could go 10-8. That would just wrap it up. I mean, it's possible. You look at the schedule, you go down the different teams. If we could go 10-8, that would be very good for us.
Yeah, and you have a situation to where if Ole Miss can win Saturday, and this is going to be probably by far the most difficult home game that Ole Miss has played this season when Auburn comes into town. But Auburn's a beatable team. They lose games on the road, just like everybody seemingly does in the SEC this year. But this is an opportunity for Ole Miss to honestly rewrite the expectations of this basketball team, because if Ole Miss wins and they go to the turn of SEC play at 6-3, it's just 4-5. Close out 4-5 to get 10 wins. There's a chance that they can stack on a little bit more than that, because there's still 2 games against Missouri on the schedule. There's still some winnable contests out there.
Yeah, we're legit. Several of the talking heads, Jeff Goodman and some of the other guys on ESPN, they've been talking about us here lately. I mean, you can't help it. I mean, you keep winning, stacking wins, kind of like South Carolina. For long, you got to take them, hey, they need to be ranked, so we need to be ranked. And I looked at the Joe Lenardi, I looked at Ken Palm and Jerry Palm and Net and all. I think we're in the 50s on the Net, 53, I believe. So we're moving on up. We're moving on up, and everybody's thinking if we just keep winning, win our home games, and not lose to Missouri, especially in our home games, and we need to go ahead and beat them away also. That will really wrap it up.
Yeah, and you have a situation where we are in, as this video airs on Wednesday night, we're about 10 days. The next 10 days are the defining days in this basketball season. You have a home game against Auburn that you'd like to win. You have a road game at either Rupp or South Carolina.
South Carolina, then Rupp, yeah.
Yeah, and then you go to Rupp. And those are going to be 3 of the most difficult games that you play all season. If Ole Miss can get one of them, just one of the 3, I think at this point you're not playing to get into the NCAA tournament. You're playing for seeding.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Yeah, we're at the point now. If we can get a couple of these high level wins, quad 1 wins they call them, that they really, the metrics, analytics, they're really, a lot of people are big on this, and it works in the ones that do all this March Madness picks and brackets, they use this, so it's a real deal. We got to either buy into it or not, but it's there and it's real, and they use these guys' metrics and analytics to decide who gets ahead of the other one.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. So everybody should be fired up. I'm probably getting ready to start doing instant overreactions after basketball games. I had to not doing it because I had some facial nerve problems with my brain tumor, and I was nervous about live streaming. Because occasionally I'll just look like the Joker from 1989 Batman, and that would look weird on a live stream. So I've been nervous about doing that. So we're broke into it. We did a live stream on Tuesday night. we're going to start incorporating that more. But just know that's the reason that it's been down at the level it's been at. Tim, what do you think? I'm not going to ask you for prediction because Ole Miss is playing pretty well since we stopped asking for predictions. How do you think these next 3 games are going to go?
I think we get a chance at Auburn here in Oxford at the Pavilion, 10,000 or more people, rabid fans. I think we got a chance there. I really do. Now going away to South Carolina, Kentucky, I could go ahead and say yeah, but I'm telling you, Kentucky has 24,000. I'm not even sure what South Carolina, but they're playing really well. South Carolina beat Tennessee and Knoxville yesterday. I mean, that don't happen. We got boat raced by Tennessee, and they went up there and they beat them. So it's a same team, different day. But South Carolina's for real. I didn't know it either. I'm just kind of picking up on them. I watched their players, and they got some dudes. They got several guys they got out of the portal, and it'll be tough to beat them away. And it's going to be tough for us to beat anybody in Rupp, but it can be done. I ain't saying it can't be done. I was kind of leery of Texas A&M, thinking, it's just so hard to win away from home. And what did our guys do? They went down there and took care of business. And with Beard, as we talk, anything can happen. He really knows this game. All the talking heads talk about him, how great he is. They rate him in the top 5 coaches out there today, and it's for a reason. He knows what he's doing. You watch his press conferences, you can tell he enjoys himself. He really enjoys, and he's thinking ahead, even what he's going to say. He's ready for the next question. And the kids are really bought in. Juju, you can tell he loves him to death, and he trusts Juju. He must if he let him shoot some of them threes last night. But he knocked them in. And T.J. Caldwell rose from the dead, right? He hadn't played hardly much at all this year, and he knocked some ones in. And Beard, he had faith in him. He told him, keep shooting, T.J., keep shooting. He knows he's got a lot of potential. And it was so glad to see that. I was so glad with Flanagan not playing well, and like you said, Cisse and Sharp. It was glad these other guys came in and really helped out and made a difference.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I genuinely think that we're going to look back on that basketball game and think that was a turning point. There was another level, another gear hit, and that was the game where they proved that. The next step, I think, for Ole Miss basketball will be to win a game against one of these really elite teams. Get an Auburn, get a Tennessee, get a Kentucky, win one of those games. I mean, it's all a process to get better and better.
It could happen. I'm not going to say it. It's just going to be really hard away from home at Rupp Arena and South Carolina to be really tough. But I'm going to say we're going to get one. We need to get 10 wins so bad. We need to get 10 wins so the pressure will be off. If we get 10 wins, there won't be waiting, like you said. I won't be waiting for seedings. We'll be waiting for seedings. We won't have to worry about getting in on the bubble, that type of thing. So if we can get 10 wins, and I could see where it could happen. We went through the schedule last week, and I didn't pick A&M to be one of them. And I think you did. I think you felt that we would beat them, and I was so glad to see it. And they played strong that last few minutes, and they stepped up. We got guys that step up. We got so many weapons. So the SEC Network guys were talking about, man, we got so many weapons. If Flanagan don't play well, we got Brakefield. Brakefield don't play well, we got Morrell and Juju. I mean, they lighten it up. So we're still getting out rebounded. That's just one of them things. Our guys, when they see the ball, I guess they thinking someone else is going to get it, and they don't go to it. But we make up for it with our shooting percentage and getting turnovers. I think the whole game we just had 7 turnovers, and I think State had 15. So the assists was we were way ahead on the assists. So rebounding may not be our forte, but we can make it up with other things.
Yeah, and whenever you played at Ole Miss, was there a night that it was just absolutely crazy like that?
We had several nights. We beat Kentucky at Ole Miss, as I remember. We won most of our home games. But I'll be honest, away from home in 4 years, I probably count on one hand how many wins we had away from home during my 4 years. It is so hard, and beating that, winning at A&M was just so good to see. And if they can do it at A&M, why not beat someone else?
Yeah, and just thinking back at it one more time, can you imagine how hard it must be for Mississippi State to know that they lost a game on an air ball on a free throw?
Yeah, I was talking about this to my wife. Y'all remember Joe Dean, Jefferson Pilot? He was the color guy. Does a real guy. I think he's passed away. Does a real good job. He did. I was thinking about it when the guy Cameron, he was Matthews, I believe. He missed the first shot right towards the end of the game, and so he had to try to bang it off the rim. And what did he do? Nothing but the bottom of the net. Nothing but the bottom of the net, John. And I got a cold, so you can tell I'm really doing good here. But I thought that was just so funny, and it ended up being the big part of the game is that he could not bang it off the rim, and it hit the bottom of the net, and that's all it did hit. So we were able to hit a few free throws and win that game, which was awesome.
How nice is it? And this is something that you've seen from Ole Miss pretty consistently this year. And if you remember at the beginning of the year, shooting free throws was a problem. But now if it was like clutch time, they're making both of them. Everybody is. I mean, there's just a confidence and a calmness about this team. They're making the first shot. They're making the second shot. The same thing happened against A&M. I mean, it's very, very impressive.
And they're not going to hit them all. But we talked about it a few weeks ago. Wynn Case told me about this. They have that class there in the Pavilion, maybe in the TUI Center. And they go through this class and look at their shot and what they need to do to correct it and look at videos of other people's shot, probably Larry Bird. But they look at these things and they work on it and they practice. We talk about the 300 Club. They shoot 300 threes every day. The shooters shoot 300 threes and they record it. They keep up with it. So it's a great thing. Beard has a lot of good things that we don't even know about, all the details that he's into. But it's great to hear, and it was great to get that win against State last night.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tim Thomas, Ole Miss legend, former player. Ole Miss takes down Mississippi State 86-82. They have Auburn in the Pavilion on Saturday. I think it should be pretty good. Tim will be back next Wednesday after the South Carolina game, and we'll talk about that as well. So I hope everybody has a good day. And Tim, thank you so much for stopping by, buddy.
Thank you, Stephen. God bless. See you.
All right. Hotty toddy.